Energy sensitive? 3 mistakes that are kicking your butt. Hello, I'm Fracka Future and welcome to the Vanguard Light, where we help energy sensitive people take it to the next level. And today we're talking about 3 mistakes that are kicking your butt. Let's break it down. So, do you feel you're energy sensitive? Do you feel like there's a deeper purpose out there, that there's this non-physical world that's possibly interfering with your mojo, where you're going along, it feels like everything's fine, but then all of a sudden it goes all sideways. The energy feels all weird and it's like, what is going on? Do you ever feel like, you're having a great day and then boom, it inverts. Something switches up and it's like, what just happened? Or you're in a room and it doesn't feel right. Or you're talking to people and just kind of things are icky. Or you hear something on the news. Oh no, not the news. And it just throws you and you can feel that vibe of a sensing doom. Has any of these things happened for you? I'm guessing that it has. I'm guessing you've experienced such things. And there's 3 mistakes that are kicking your butt. Because you probably have also done energy work, done some things, and it seems like it works sometimes, but then fails you. And it throws you for a loop, because when it works, it's like, this is the best thing in the world. But when it doesn't, it puts a lot of doubt. Because most people don't believe, right? And you feel that. You feel like, kind of, I'm the odd one out. Ever felt like you're an odd person? Kind of like, no one's really going to understand. I'm sensing stuff. They probably think I'm crazy, right? And how many times you felt crazy? You felt like, I just feel like a cuckoo. I feel like a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? But sometimes when you're on and you get it right, oh, it feels amazing. Like you're tapped into something. I'm like, oh, this is the good stuff. I'm tapped in. So what's with this? Not tapped in, crazy, can't depend on it. You can depend on it. It's the best thing ever. It's not the best thing ever. 3. There's 3 critical mistakes you're probably making, not realizing, that has a big influence on that. And they're part of the process to ascension, to help people that are unconscious to wake up, not be unconscious. Help us. However, when we don't recognize them, throws us for a loop. So we're going to go into number 1. We're going from least to most, right? Least to most, least to most. So number 1, it's the moon. What? The moon? Yes, the moon. See, when there's the full moon, the amount of spiritual energy that rains down on the planet is highly increased. It's like a pumping station, right? So stuff that's normally not in your field all of a sudden becomes awakened. You can view it, you can see it, you can be like, whoa, what is that? But if you don't realize and aren't kind of paying attention to where we are in the full moon, and it can also have a slightly different effect with the new moon, you could be dealing with stuff that's kind of out of the ordinary. It makes you feel like you're kind of crazy, because it's like this whole new information's coming in. It's like I was doing fine here, and now all of a sudden all this stuff's an issue. And that's because you're being viewed a new layer. But if you don't recognize it, like, okay, wait, full moon is going to have an influence. It's going to increase the amount of spiritual energy, and realize, oh, I'm getting new spiritual energy, and it's giving me a glimpse of what I might be confronting, a glimpse of what's coming, as opposed to it's fully here, and then it kind of dissipates when the moon goes. And it kind of makes you feel like, oh, it's a big issue. No, it's not an issue. It's the biggest. And where did it come from? It kind of hit me sideways. What's up with that? What? Where did that come from? So that's one thing to recognize and pay attention. Okay, where we are in the moon stuff. Because is it the moon coming and going? And this is just one. We're going to talk about the 3. There's more than 3, but we're just going to talk about 3 to start getting, because these ones are predictable. There's unpredictable ones that they just throw you for a loop. Well, we don't have to worry about this right now, because we got to first get the 3. Because when we get the 3, we're going to start finding out what are the unpredictable ones. So, number 2, and this one happens more, is inversion fields. Now, the planet is covered in inversion fields. Cities have their own specific, global, for that whole city inversion field. They're different from city to city. It's one of the big reasons when you travel a lot or go from city to city, cities feel different. They invert differently, right? So you have your being a light, right? We're highly inverted in this 3D reality. So, but what happens, especially in cities, got them, you go out to nature, the inversion field lifts, but there's still an inversion field, and they're different depending on where out in nature you are, where you are in the country, what other geological features are around. Just realizing that you're gonna feel like, especially when you transition, like I had, like when I lived in Austin, like it almost felt like it was pulling on me, right? And it would like resist me leaving. And then once I got a certain distance out, all of a sudden it would crack open and I'd be like, whoa, and I'd feel this big upliftment of like, what just happened? So you gotta think of like an inversion field like this, right? And it's gonna push down. The longer you're in it, the more you're not gonna notice it. The more it's gonna be just status quo, right? You're not gonna notice you're inverted there. So if you go to another place, which would have like an inversion field offset where it inverts here, but this is uplifted a bit, and that's where you've been inverted, when you go there, you're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, I feel so uplifted, right? But you stay there long enough, its inversion is gonna start pushing you down. You won't notice that inversion. So it's when you transition from inversion field to inversion field, you're gonna feel different parts of your beings either being lifted up, kind of like a pivot. Like, so if you're pushed down here and you go to a different inversion field and it's pushing here, you kind of feel a lift here, right? And it's like, oh, I feel better. But then you'll start noticing you're getting pushed down there. But it's that seesaw to where you felt like this, fine and dandy, maybe not noticing. You go to a different place and invert something that you're kind of really paying attention to, you're going to feel that downward pressure, but not notice the upward lift here, or notice an upward lift here, of like, well, I feel better here, but I feel inverted here. There's going to be this weird seesaw just from traveling, just from going from location to location. The more consistently you do it, the more you'll notice these inversion fields, right? But if you don't know about inversion fields, you're just going to feel yourself doing this up, down, things inverting, things that weren't an issue become an issue, but not an issue, that aren't an issue. And there's all this kind of like up, down, invert, and it makes you feel like you're a crazy person because you're sensitive to it. You're going to be sensitive to these energies. And part of it is kind of realizing like, okay, am I changing inversion fields? As opposed to, am I cuckoo? Am I feeling great and bad and good and this and that and kind of like what's happening? And not realizing you're going through inversion fields. Different inversion fields that push up and push down in different ways. Like you've been pushed down, this one releases, but it pushes you down a different place. And it's kind of pumping you. And it's not you going like you changing all this way. It's just you're sensing all this up, down, up, down, up, down. So that's the second way it can mess you up. Because energy work would change. Things would change. Like you'd have to kind of get to know what are those different inversion fields and how does the game play there. And realize that's separate from you. And that you're just getting pushed. You're getting inverted in different ways. As opposed to, I'm a crazy person. Right? Because that throws you. Makes you feel doubt. Makes you feel this energy works really confusing. It doesn't work. It's this, and that. Because if you're in different inversion fields, different things work. Kind of like if you're out and about here, like in the open air, you know, you can walk around, it's fine. But if I was underwater, it'd be completely different. I'd have a different experience. Breathing without a mask on would be really difficult, right? Versus if I had the respirator and I was out here, breathing would be difficult. As opposed to if I took it out. So it's just an example of different inversion fields, kind of different fields can make you wonky, right? So that's number 2 of things that can be a huge mistake if you miss them. You're missing these transitions that, you know, you got this full moon kind of cycling. You've got these, you know, inversion field cycling that can cause your feelings to cycle. And another big, this number big one that happens twice a day that you're probably not paying attention to. And that's the sun coming up and the sun setting, which is a major difference. It's a major change in energy. Major. Living in the city, living with a lot of lights on, you kind of don't notice it. But if you're out in the country, like if we're out here, you'd be surprised how unbelievably dark it gets when the sun goes and how everything changes. Because if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no lights, when the sun goes down, it's dark. It's a game changer on what you can do. It's a game changer on animals that are up and asleep. It's a game changer what's happening with the trees. The tree's energy completely changes. The animal's energy completely changes. The energy of the land completely changes. All these cycles completely and radically change when the sun goes down and when the sun comes up. It's a major change in energy, which is going to affect you differently. It's a major transition. If you're not paying attention and kind of not aware that the sun has just gone down, it's globally, or in that area, in your area where the sun goes down, majorly changing all the energetic fields, which would have an effect on you. If you're energy sensitive, it's going to have an effect. And realizing that, it's going to have effect. Things are going to work differently because it's a massive, massive change. Just think about it. It's a massive change. I mean, you walk into a room and you got all people's different emotions, and you're picking it up. You're like, oh, and they're happy, they're sad, they're this, there's that, right? There's that dynamic. But you might be missing that whoom, massive change of the sun going down, which is going to affect everybody, even the norms that aren't choosing to be tuned into their abilities are going to change. Their energy is going to change big because you had a global or regionally, but it happens to the whole planet, change in energy. And it's going to affect everybody different. And just realizing like, okay, major energy change with the sun coming up, coming down is happening. And just realize like, okay, I'm ready. Big energy change is occurring. A big transition is going to occur. Same when you go, if you're traveling, going through inversion fields, a big difference is going to occur. And then the same with the moon. And that's slower, but it's a big energy change. A lot of spiritual energy comes down. A lot of raising of issues and stuff comes. But it is situational. It's related to the full moon. So we're going to go over 3 quick. So it's the full moon change, is being aware of the transition of the full moon. Number 2, being aware of your location, and you're going through different inversion fields change. And that was number 2. And number 3 is the sun, up and down. Those are big, big changes and good to be aware of because they're going to influence a lot of things to realize like, oh wait, I'm in a transition. Oh, I went through a transition, as opposed to something's going crazy in my head. It's not crazy in your head. You're just experiencing major energy shifts. So hopefully that's brought some enlightenment and like maybe some peace that, that crazy that you might be feeling is just misidentifying major energy shifts. That's all. There's just, oh, I didn't realize a major energy shift's going on. Of course, I'm going to start feeling wildly different. But as soon as you realize it, it's like, part of it's like being on a roller coaster and knowing you're on a roller coaster. If you like roller coasters, think of something that you like that's a big, huge change. Like, if you go to a movie and there's a lot of emotional changes, you enjoy it. But if it's hitting you sideways and you don't realize you're on the roller coaster and you're going through it, it's just going to be a lot of like, oh, this is terrible, right? But when you start realizing like, okay, this change is coming. Oh, it's going to do stuff. And you start paying attention to like, oh, those major changes affect me in this way. And you can predict them. You can plan for them. You can then surf them and really enjoy those and see the pumping, the change. It can bring up an issue that you're like, oh, cool, I get to fix that. I get to correct that. Oh, and now it's not just this confusion jumble of like, this is crazy. What's going on? You get to navigate this non-physical world. And then once you start navigating it, you're dealing with miracle power. So if you liked the video, hit a like. If you want more content like this, please subscribe. And until we talk again, have a blessed day or a blessed night.